I'm Latiesha Fazakas of the Fazakas Gallery, and I operate my space in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is on the traditional territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations.
My name is Dave Kimelberg. I'm the founder of the Art Gallery, which is located in Buffalo, New York, which is original territory of the Seneca Nation of Indians, of which I'm a member, and where I was born and came back about 12 years ago.
It has been an incredibly interesting time to be in this business. Well, I think it's an interesting time for any business, but if we're particularly talking about COVID and the impacts, I think that has continually changed throughout this last year and a half.
Our gallery is focused exclusively on contemporary works of Native and First Nations artists. So if the question is, well, how have we changed our operations during COVID? We haven't, just because we opened in the midst of COVID. So we're a new gallery, and we opened December of last year, which was right in the middle of COVID. So we didn't really know any other way. Obviously, it changed our plans considerably.
I think that we are fortunate enough that we are also in a time where we do have technologies like Zoom, like video work, where you can spend time talking to an artist and sharing that with your audience, which you wouldn't necessarily be able to do.
Our debut show, which was a fantastic show, and it was 11 Native artists from around the country and Canada, was entirely online, and it was a virtual opening. It was, it had its sort of hurdles, if you will, but all in all, it was a really successful opening. We really well received. We had a lot of traction with people. And what we've done subsequent to that, we've had a second show, and we're preparing for our third show, which will open towards the end of October. And, we can have live openings now. We have to be careful about that. We have to be careful about how many people we let in the gallery at any given time. But all in all, it's allowed us to be more flexible and to look at different channels for our business. We focus much more on online business and sort of developing our presence online with a fair amount of success. So that's been, good. I think maybe that's just accelerated what was coming anyway. So it's forced us to get up to speed quicker. But in another way, it's almost allowed us to be more flexible in the artists we look at. We've had a number of studio visits on Zoom that we wouldn't maybe necessarily been able to do, people in locales that we weren't going to visit otherwise.
One of the shows that we did that was in the pandemic that we thought was going to be post-pandemic was an exhibition called Living Room. And the premise of it started out as, so how are these different artists all impacted and utilizing what's happening for them right now in their work? And we thought that it was going to be our first in-person show, and it was going to be last year in September. And we thought, okay, so this will be kind of the pivot point again, where it was like, okay, this was all our shared experience. Here we are today talking about that shared experience and how has it changed us for the future. And, what it ended up being is in the middle of it. This isn't, this is where we are for now. This is where we've come to now. The future continues to look like something different, but it allowed the artists to talk about being inside, being in the domestic space, and how that impacts all of us. One of the other things we did to help try and create the physicality was to do those real estate videos where I thought, oh, you know how you go into a home and to see it online with a realtor where, it's got this little dots and you click on the dot and you end up over here and you're over there. We immediately utilize that. I was like, I want people to be able to feel like they're able to physically be in the space as much and as easily as possible. And so I was actually really quite thrilled with that. We did that quite a few times.
We've also had much more of a focus on video, just because, to your point, we don't want it to be two-dimensional. There's much more to it than that, and you have to sort of experience it and have a different dimension on that. And the videos really allow us to show that and to translate that across the screen, which has been great. We're looking at, we actually are launching an NFT initiative with some of our artists that, is very technology driven, very web-based driven, that we might not have otherwise been doing now had it not been for the pandemic.
I feel like from what I've seen from my colleagues and the people that I've worked with, and really even gallerists and artists that I read about, is that we've all learned to pivot and adapt in really unique and interesting ways. And in that way, I think it's brought out some of the best in all of us.
As a gallery, we're really excited to come to Art Toronto. That's an opportunity for us that maybe we wouldn't have done otherwise if we hadn't had the time to really think about it and the time to prepare for it. But yeah, we're really excited. We're bringing work from two of our artists, Peter Jemison, who's a Seneca artist, who's fantastic. We're bringing some of his works. Luzene Hill, who's a member of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Nation. We're bringing some of her works, and she has some fantastic work. And we're really excited, and this is a real opportunity for us to bring some new works by Edgar Heap of Birds, who's a fantastic artist. He has a series of native host signs, and he created 3 new ones for this show that we're going to be showing. But we're also using Edgar's work, sort of as I alluded to earlier, to have an NFT component of his works. And it's the first time he's ever done any NFTs. And so we're excited.
Our participation in Art Toronto this year, some of the decisions we have made has been based on the last year's experience, in that we decided this year we would do a project space. So it made sense to work with an artist who is already in that city. And also the subject matter of Jason's work, which is Indigenous futurisms. And so the idea of technology and how Indigenous artists are utilizing that, and what indigeneity is looking at moving forward, and the trajectory of that, and that artwork that's produced by Indigenous artists has a past, it has a present, and it also has a future.